So you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome everyone. I want to start off with just some grounding and center ourselves into our space today. Thanks for everyone for joining. Thank you, Kettle Space, for hosting. My name is Paloma Concordia. I'm the founder of PapaLoDown Agency. And before we get started, I want to share with you, God, this is my first time doing this, so I fucking hope I don't fuck it up. But before we get started, I want to share something with you. I know that there's a lot of unrest and a lot of things happening in the world, so I want to continue grounding us with a Native American land acknowledgement that I'm borrowing from San Francisco Unified School District's Ethnic Studies curriculum. And so there's this map, there's this link right here, native-land.ca. It allows you to see the Native American tribes that are originally from the area that you're currently living in. So you can see what tribes are originally from where you are at now. I am in San Francisco, and the Ohlone Ramaytush people are from the land that I am currently on. And so I just want to acknowledge that this, these few words here is what the Ethnic Studies curriculum teaches. So we acknowledge the land and the peoples to whom this land belongs. This is Ohlone land, and they are still here. We stand in solidarity with all Indigenous and Black people and their right to self-determination and justice. We commit to working toward the healing of the generational trauma, theft, and disposition Native and Black peoples have faced and continue to face. So I just want to share that with you all, and hopefully this helps you to also research what land you are currently on. I don't know, how do you guys think about that?
Yeah, no, that was good. I mean, I think
that was great. That was great. I love it. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, great. So now that we have acknowledged the land, we are centered, let's move on. And I want to share a little bit about myself and my background in PapaLoDown Agency. I started the company 10 years ago, and we work with people of color, women of color, run organizations and businesses, artists and creatives. As you can see, a lot of the work that I have done, a lot of the PR campaigns we've done spread from books to restaurants to schools, night markets, women entrepreneurs. And that's really what we're about. We want to shift the narrative. We want to amplify the voices of people of color. We want to document the work that is being done by communities of color as well. And that is a little bit of a background, and you can see more on my website when you get a chance. Okay, thank you everyone for being here again. I want to continue the conversation with a poll real quick and see how many of you, oh gosh, great. How do I do the poll? Oh, there it is. Oh, can you guys still see my screen?
Yes, yes.
So now it's blank. No, that's not it. Oh, there. Okay, the polling is right here. So let's start with a poll. It's a little bit out of order, but I'd like to know, I'm going to launch the poll now. Have any of you used a PR service before? So they'll do that. And then please enter. Okay, great. Many of you haven't. Okay. Next, we're gonna, I'll just close it there, I guess.
Well, I can should I enter you? There you go.
So can you see it if I pull it up then?
No, I can't see because I don't have that feature, but I can exit out for you. I can launch it for you, I think.
But you don't see me pulling up the poll on my screen.
I don't.
Oh, okay. Okay, so share results. Okay, looks like a lot of you have not before. Why does it say stop sharing? Okay, relaunch. Okay. Okay, so we'll do that. And if you were able to read the article, you know that PR, public relations, is third-party validation.
Sorry,
Blah, blah, blah.
really quick.
Yeah.
The poll results was for the Twitter question. I don't know if when you shared the poll results, for some reason it showed the Twitter question.
Oh, I think that's that's the one I picked.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. That's fine. Just making sure.
Right.
Cool.
I'll make sure to choose the right one. Okay. So what is PR? It's third-party validation. Great. Now we're going to go into PapaLoDown signature PR campaign system. It's broken up into 3 phases. Blah, blah. Oh, I'm supposed to ask people to drop in the chat as they're starting their name and location, right? And the company or org that they're part of.
Yeah, let's
Maybe can that be something you throw in the chat? Like, hey everyone, thanks for joining. Please share your name and location.
Yeah.
Okay, so today's
name, location.
Mm-hmm.
Paloma, do you want to do that? Wait, hold on, before you start.
As people are
After
entering
your introduction. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I think as people are entering, so give them something to share.
Yep.
And that'll help with like the land acknowledgement. Like, oh, I see everyone's from, these areas.
The only thing is, yeah, but if you started the presentation already and I'm late, I wouldn't be able to see the history, the chat history though. Yeah.
I mean, but
you know what?
As I start, right? Like as soon as we start, I can say that. I think it can still be in the chat.
Yeah. You know what I can do is just reach out to that person like privately, like, hey, introduce yourself if you're talking,
Wait, why can't you? Oh, because you're picturing. I mean, why can't you just give 5 minutes as people are joining? Annalisa, you don't have to be talking, I guess, Paloma, but Annalisa, maybe you could be like, hey guys, share these 3 things before we get started, and then once we get started, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think?
I mean, if they're late, I feel like they're late. Like if they're not there in the first few minutes.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I guess you could just because I don't want to stop anything, so just keep going, Paloma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So.
And we got.
So your name. So phase 1. So today's goal, we're gonna work on phase 1, setting that up for your PR campaign. We're gonna take some notes. And I want to ask another poll. I have another, no, I don't know if I have another, but your name and lights. Yeah, I think I'm going to ask the second question here. How comfortable are you advocating for yourself? Okay, so we'll do that, then end poll. Let me relaunch poll. End poll. No, okay. I feel weird with the polls. Hopefully that runs smoothly. Okay, then we're gonna go into our first step, green lights. What do you want to be known for? Do you have a launch or event coming up? And please put that into the chat. Okay, then they'll put that into the chat. Yay. Then, okay, so we're gonna plan your campaign at least 6 months out from your event launch. Let's say we're gonna start in July. So you want your event or campaign is gonna be in September, October area. September, October, November is when you're gonna have your event happen, or your launch will take place. Then, okay, we're gonna have a little exercise now where you want you to set up your Google alerts. If you haven't already, you wanna use keywords like your name, your business name, industry topic, competitors or allies that you want to achieve the same type of success. And we're gonna do that right now. So if you can go open up your browser and go to google.com/alerts, and you do need a Gmail account for this. So if you don't have a Gmail account, I advise you to set one up in the near future. But if you already do, then you can go to this URL, google.com/alerts, and type in your name as an alert. Type in your business name, your industry. I work with a lot of Filipino American clients, so I use the alert Filipino American, and that helps me stay on the pulse of what's happening in the media. Okay, next we're gonna choose 5 to 10 media outlets to target for your campaign. You need to know the news, your Twitter. Okay, now we're talking about Twitter. I'm gonna run another poll. How many of you are using Twitter already? Okay, well, Twitter is your media database. It's free. You know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then go into that. Then our last step is creating a digital media press kit. Blah, blah, blah. And that wraps up phase 1. Then phase 2 is pitching your story, which is all about timing, patience, and persistence. These are 2 examples. Last year, when there was the college admission scandal, I saw a reporter talking about on Twitter asking if there was anyone that they could speak to, high school students, and I was working with high school students at that time, so I contacted the writer and said, yes, I have students you can speak to, and they were able to be on KQED News. I also, blah, blah, then I'll explain this one on Undiscovered. So that wraps up for summary. We want to plan your campaign, set up Google alerts, blah, blah. Does anyone have any questions? Then we'll do Q&A, right? And then I can do my pitch for PR for the people at the end.
Okay, great.
Sounds good.
All right, well, you better run to the bathroom if you're gonna.
Yeah, because it's 1:28.
Okay.
Go.
Okay, should I stop share right now? Okay.
Yeah.
God, 2 minutes.
Go, run.
Okay.
We'll stall.
I'll stop my video.
We'll stall.
Do you want me? I can just, I mean, we can start with my screen share actually, right? Like it should just be like this when they come in.
Yep.
Okay.
You're on mute.
Yep. There you go.
Okay, and then one more thing. Are you on the run of show doc that I created? I don't think you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that thing at the end under wrap up? If anyone wants to share, if you can share that and just say, hey, if anyone wants to share their contact, go to this link for this event. You can share your contact and what you're looking for.
What is that again? Like, if you want to share your contact, please put your contact in a spreadsheet and that's what you're looking for. Is that what you said?
Yeah, just your contact. Yeah, and how we can help. How we can help, basically. It's like it's a list for people to put what they're looking for and their contact and what their background is. You know.
If they feel comfortable sharing the information.
Completely optional, yeah.
Completely optional. Okay, sounds good.
Yep, yeah, you just put a link in the chat. Yeah, put the link at the end.
Okay.
Okay. Are you good? Are you good to go?
I think, yeah, I'm good. Just make sure you have your phone like not on silent, so it's just you are.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 3 people in the waiting room.
Yeah. And then you can just, if it's 31, you can just let them in.
It is
Say,
1:30.
hey guys, we're gonna get started in a minute. Drop your. Okay.
4 people
go ahead
now.
and say drop your info in the chat.
All right, okay, I'm gonna start this.
Okay, you can let them in.
All right, you're back. All right,
Back.
Paloma,
Okay.
we have
Good
3
luck.
people. Bye, Max.
See ya.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Paloma,
Bye.
you ready?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we're ready. All right. 4 people. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Good afternoon or good morning if you're from the West.
Uh-oh. Isa, you're cutting out. But that's okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Paloma. Thanks for joining. Hi, Justine. Isa, am I the only one not muted? Okay. As you guys are joining in, if you want to just share where you are tuning in from, your location and your organization, company, or industry that you are part of. Please drop that in the chat so we just get a sense of who is in the room today. Okay, see we have, okay, so Isa, I'm just gonna talk. Okay, everyone. So thank you to Kettle Space. I just wanna give folks a few more minutes to join. So yeah, in the chat, if you can share where you are from, where you're tuning in from, your location and company or industry that you are part of. Go ahead and do that before we get started. Okay, great. Marissa, thanks for sharing. Communications intern. Virginia Beach, awesome. Thanks, Marissa. Hey, Justine. Wintun territory. We're gonna do a land acknowledgement, so I'm glad you know where you're at. Legal and small press publishing, yes. Awesome, okay. So I think we'll go ahead and, oh, Hans, okay, great. Some more folks are chiming in. Hudson Valley, New York, garden-based instruction, nice. Okay, great. Wonderful, thanks for joining, Hans. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And Isa, I don't know if we're recording this.
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. So if you need to watch this later, again, then you can. Okay, whew, let's take a deep breath. I just want everyone, I don't know where you're running in from, if there was another meeting before this, but let's ground ourselves and just take a deep breath to get centered in the space. In, out through the mouth. All right. Thank you again, everyone. My name is Paloma Concordia. I'm the founder of PapaLoDown Agency. Thank you to Kettle Space for hosting us today. We're going to talk about PR essentials. So let's get started with a land acknowledgement. So I'm borrowing this from San Francisco Unified School District's Ethnic Studies. My husband is one of the curriculum writers, and this is his slide. So I'm borrowing it from him, but I do want to acknowledge the land that we are on. I am here on Ohlone land in San Francisco. So I'm just going to recite this. We acknowledge the land and the peoples to whom this land belongs. This is Ohlone land, and they are still here. We stand in solidarity with all Indigenous and Black people and their right to self-determination and justice. We commit to working toward the healing of the generational trauma, theft, and disposition of Native and Black peoples have faced and continue to face. So I encourage all of you to check out native-land.ca to see what land you are on. I know some of you are Virginia Beach or New York. So check out that map, and that way you know what land you are on. Thank you for letting me share that with all of you right now. Okay, so a little background of me. If you don't know who I am, I started PapaLoDown Agency, a PR agency in San Francisco, going on 11 years now, and we work with a lot of artists, creatives, restaurants, nonprofit arts organizations. We've worked with high schools, and so we aim to serve people of color, women of color-led organizations and businesses. And we want to amplify their stories. We want to have them documented, and that's a lot of the PR work is documenting these stories to be used in curriculum or to, to inspire the next generation or even the current one. So that's what we're about, and you can find out more if you go to my website. You can read the bio there. So what is public relations? I don't know if you guys had the chance to read the article that was in that Eventbrite, but PR is basically third-party validation. It's having the media, the original influencers, right? The New York Times, Forbes, whatever it may be, Washington Post, or your local papers, lifestyle magazines. That gives you that third-party validation, and that's different from marketing, because marketing, you control the narrative. Advertising, you control the narrative. Your branding, you can control the narrative. With PR, you have influence over it, but you don't know at the end of the day what the writer, journalist is going to say about you or your organization, right? So there's a little difference there where you don't have full control of the narrative, but it's also that third-party validation, because you're not, with advertising, you can say your message, right? And sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here, but that's, if you read the article, you'll be able to get more information on that. Okay, so today what we're going to do is go through our PapaLoDown signature PR campaign system and it's broken up into 3 phases. So phase 1 is what we're going to review today, and that's about a 2-month time frame. It can definitely be shorter, but I like to stretch it out for this example, because you guys all have busy lives, you have multiple projects, maybe you have kids, so I know it's hard to execute things right away. So for our purposes, we're stretching this out. And phase 1 is research, it's strategy, it's getting your press kit set up, updating your website, looking at your analytics. So it's all this prep work. Then phase 2 is 3 months usually, and it's getting your pitch email out, engaging with press, following up, doing interview prep. And press usually need a long lead time. So that's why you want 3 months, because you can pitch something and then it doesn't actually get published for like 3 months later or 6 months later. So you want to have that long lead time. And then phase 3 is all about our reporting and analyzing the data. So understanding what is the return on investment that our PR campaign has. How many of you, I'm gonna actually run a little poll now. So let's see if I can do this correctly. How many of you have used a PR service before? I'm gonna launch that now. Okay, hold on there. Okay, that poll should be up now. So if you can just share how many of you have used a PR service before. Okay, looks like most of you have not, or all of you have not. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so that's good to know. Well, you're gonna learn some of these basics right now of what it is I do as a publicist, and also what you can do for yourself. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. So have your pen and paper out or a new doc open. We're gonna set up phase 1 of your PR campaign today. And it'll be a quick style version of it, but you will be able to walk away with an outline. And if you have questions throughout, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and Annalisa will help queue them up for the end of the presentation. All right, your name in lights. This is the fun part. What do you want to be known for? Put that in the chat, please. Do you have an event or launch coming up in the next 6 months? Also, feel free to share that. But that's really what helps guide the campaign. So I'll go through and sit down with our clients and check in with them about that. Like, what is the goal? What do you want to be known for? And that'll help guide us. Okay, I'm gonna ask I have another poll question. I'm gonna keep this interactive, guys. And this is, I think I know what the answer is gonna be, but how comfortable are you advocating for yourself? Because that's what PR is about, right? Like, it's advocating, and that's hard to do for yourself. And I think that's why a lot of people will hire a publicist, PR team to do that, because it's uncomfortable. So just want to gauge, okay, pretty comfortable, good, not very comfortable. Yeah, most of us are not. I have a hard time, and like, I'm like, hey, advocate for yourself. But even for myself, it's like, it's a challenge. Okay, good. Thanks for sharing, guys. So in the chat, did you guys share yet? Would love to see what you want to be known for. Or if you have an event or launch coming up in the next 6 months. Okay, I'll move on, but please share that in the chat. Okay, so step 1, you're going to plan your campaign out about 6 months from the event or launch. So looking at a timeline of right now, this is July to December is your 6-month timeline. So if we're talking about phase 1 is about 2 months, that's July and August. So then you're gonna start pitching in September. Between September and November is your pitching window. And so your event should probably happen maybe at the end of September or October at that point, okay? And then you do your wrap-up reporting in December. Okay, LJ Finney, thanks for sharing. You want to be known as an expert in providing team building, training, and networking events to corporations and organizations using golf. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Maya, I'm a debut author and book coach known for Humus Mysteries with Filipino protagonists. Awesome. So writer, you should connect with Justine. She is a writer as well. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Now we're gonna have another little activity where you're gonna set up your Google Alerts. So this is what I do for each campaign. I will go into Google Alerts, and that's google.com/alerts. So I actually want you guys to do this right now with us. because then it'll be done. And that way you can walk away and be like, I did something, I completed something for my future PR campaign. So you're gonna set up Google Alerts. I recommend your name, okay? So open your browser, go to google.com/alerts. You do need a Gmail account for this, so hopefully you guys already have that set up. If you don't, you can do that later. But your name is one of the first things I recommend putting in the alerts. Your business name or your organization name, your industry or topic. So a lot of my clients are Filipino American. So I have that set up as a Google alert, and that way I can find out whenever Filipino American is in the news, then I get a digest of all those articles, and that keeps me on top of that industry or topic. So go ahead and set that up, or at least if you want to have that window open when we get off, then you can finish setting that up. And you know, I say evaluate that every couple of months, or like when you're like, oh, you know what, I should add this keyword, or maybe you're setting up a new campaign. So this should be like adjusted, go into your alerts and change things out every couple of months. Okay, so next, step 2, you're gonna choose 5 to 10 media outlets to target for your campaign. And that can be a much larger list, right? But I love to go by the advice of like quality over quantity, less is more. If you have a list of 100, like, are you really gonna wanna get through that list of 100? Probably not. So if you have a smaller number of like 5 to 10 to start off, you'll move through that list much more quickly. So what are the media outlets that you want to be seen in, that you want your project, your company, organization to be seen in? So come up with that list, okay? And that should be a mix. I would recommend it's a mix of podcast, newspaper, local, national, lifestyle magazines, right? Radio programs. So there's so many out there, and they're always changing. Like, unfortunately, with COVID pandemic that we're in the middle of, a lot of media outlets are furloughing, laying off employees, they're shutting down. So you really need to know like what is happening in the media landscape, and be an active listener of the media, or reader of the media, specifically the media outlets that you're targeting to. Okay, so that's your first piece, with like building relationships with media outlets too. Okay, the next part, you've identified your media outlets. Now you're going to identify a writer from each outlet to build a relationship with. So, you know, and again, that goes back to like read, listen, know what each person writes and reports about, engage on Twitter. And so I'm going to actually put another poll up right now. This is the last poll. How many of you are already using Twitter? Are you already on Twitter? I can't stand Twitter. I am, I'm not, I can't stand Twitter. I know, it's a love-hate relationship with social media. I feel the same way. So looks like most of you are on Twitter already. Great. If you are not, consider joining. Join us. Get off Facebook. I have friends getting hacked and trolled on Facebook and being extorted for money. So it's crazy on Facebook right now. Okay, so thank you for sharing. It looks like most of you are. Great, because Twitter is your media database. Like, their PR agencies will spend thousands of dollars on these subscription services for a media database. And I personally think it's a waste of money. I wasted my money, actually, my damn self, excuse my language. I wasted my money on it myself, and then came to realize, like, no, and I'm sure many, many years ago that was the case, but now all of the writers and journalists are on Twitter, and they have their email address on their profile, or they'll say, like, my DMs are open, or they're asking to interview people, like, hey, does anyone know someone that is, you know, homeschooling their kids? I'd love to talk to them. So those are the Twitterverse is really like gold. It's a gold mine for getting in the news, honestly. And not enough people take advantage of that. So with social media, I recommend, like, know where your audience is. Like, if your audience is all on Instagram, then great, you're going to target your audience on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Maybe it's Yelp if you're a restaurant. But with Twitter, it's really about your audience on Twitter, and who you're trying to reach are the writers and journalists. And maybe if you're a B2B, like, your audience is on Twitter too, but definitely target the writers and journalists and media outlets on Twitter. And this is just a sample of, like, you know, me sending a DM to a writer, and they're like, yes, send me the book. I'll reply to your email. Like, that all happened on Twitter. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you can't get in the news if you don't have a relationship. Honestly, a lot of the pitching that we do and a lot of the press that we land is cold calling. Like, we don't have relationships with everyone. It would be impossible, right? Especially if you're like, I mean, most of our clients are in the arts, culture, and community spaces rooted in social justice and youth empowerment. So that's kind of where I tend to have relationships with writers in that area. But if we have a client that's in a completely different industry, then we are cold calling, and we are still landing, because we're doing the work to build a relationship, read what they write about, and know what is happening in their beat. So also a tip, you want to subscribe to the media outlet newsletters. And if you can, support, get a paid subscription to your local paper. They need it. You know, I don't know if you know what's happening in the Philippines, but a really well-renowned journalist is possibly going to be going to jail. Like, it's crazy out there for journalists, especially if they're reporting on things that are political, right? So pay the subscription, support your local media outlets. Okay. And then the last piece of phase 1 is creating your digital media press kit. And that is a curated selection of high-res photos. Like, don't let the journalist, writer, producer go on Facebook or do a Google search and pull up, like, this old picture of you, right? Like, give them the photos you want them to use. So that'll go in your digital media press kit. You can use Dropbox. I use Google Drive. I just set up a folder and I drop it all in there. Your press release can be in there. Your frequently asked questions FAQ sheet will go in there. If you have a product, like, your product sheet will be in there. So it's basically this package, right? You're giving them a gift. Like, here's everything you need to write a wonderful story about me. The easier you can make it for the writer, journalist, producer to put together something, put a story together on you, then the more likely they're going to want to work with you again, because, like, they know you're organized, they know you're efficient, you're being helpful. They are so busy. They get inundated with emails, and, like, they're running a bunch of deadlines. They have multiple stories they're working on. So the easier you can make their job, then that's where that relationship building comes in. Like, I like working with this person because they are quick to respond. They have everything ready to go and organized for me. So keep that in mind when you're putting your digital media press kit together. Okay. Next is phase 2. So that wraps up quick version of phase 1. Phase 2 is pitching your story. And we're not going to get into it today, but I just wanted to show you, like, that's the next part, is pitching. And it's all about timing, patience, and persistence with pitching. And I'll show you these 2 examples here. June Jordan School for Equity in San Francisco. Last year, there's that college admissions scandal happening, right? And so I was on Twitter and I'm scrolling, and a writer from KQED News was like, hey, does anyone know any high school students I can speak to around the college admission scandal? Boom, send them a DM. Yes, I can put you in touch with students. And there we go. Then we got our client on KQED News. And this client, June Jordan, like they had kind of a negative reputation in the San Francisco area. So this was part of our campaign to change that perception and shift the narrative around June Jordan being a great school for students to go to. And so hearing these students talk about the college admission scandal and seeing how they were so well versed in like what was happening, it was really great for the school and for these students, because now they're like, yeah, I was in the news, right? This other sample is front page cover of the San Francisco Weekly newspaper. And we got Undiscovered. It's a night market, Filipino-inspired night market on the front page of the San Francisco Weekly in the month of October, which is Filipino American History Month. So I'm pretty sure that this is the first time Filipino culture and history was on the front page of a local newspaper. I literally got the newspaper and like was crying in my car when I got it because I was so happy. But that is another example of like timing, patience, persistence. Like I timed it. I had been talking to the editor-in-chief for a while. So this goes with like being patient, right, and persistent. Like maybe 6 months beforehand, I had met with him, talked about another story, then was sharing like, hey, this is happening, this night market, October's Filipino American History Month. So I'm dropping those seeds, planting those seeds of opportunity months in advance, right? And then finally, like September, he's like, hey, something fell through. I want to run your story on the front page. Boom, made it happen. So just a few samples of like how Twitter and how being patient and persistence and the timing all matter when you're doing your PR campaign. Okay. So let's, in summary, steps you're gonna do is planning your campaign 6 months out. So maybe it doesn't have to be July to December, right? But no, like if your launch is happening in January, like plan backwards. So set up those Google alerts, research your media outlets and writers. Again, like with the writers, you can normally find their email address. And it is like, you're like a private investigator a little bit, because you're like Twitter, then you go to their article, and like sometimes in the article, it has their email, right? So you can contact them through that, or a lot of times they'll have personal websites, so you can message them through their personal website. But yeah, it's a little bit of like PI work. Then you're gonna work on your media kit and update your website. And that'll be, yeah, phase 1 of your PR campaign. I think I got through all the polls. Any questions? So let's open it up for Q&A now. Want to leave time for that, because and for the Q&A, like we feel free to unmute yourself if you have an actual like ask right now or a question about your own project you're working on. Now would be the time to just talk about that. There's not how many. Okay, we have 9 participants, so I think that's a good amount of time. Like we can really just get into the conversation now, if you guys would like.
Hey,
Yes.
hi. We actually have a question from Kasha earlier.
Okay.
She's from New York, and she said that I feel like Twitter doesn't work for small companies or nonprofits. So what's your take on that?
What, I guess I want to clarify, what do you mean it doesn't work? Because the example I'm using is like, it works to find writers. It works to find contact information. If you're talking about promoting your business on Twitter, sure, it's not necessarily going to work for everybody. And you have to have like a very specific strategy for Twitter, right? It's mostly about conversation on there. So yeah, I would say don't necessarily use Twitter for promoting yourself. It's more about like research and engagement with writers. That's how I use it, and that's how I'm saying we should use it for this purpose. There are Twitter experts out there that could probably give you, advice on like how to use Twitter to promote business.
Yeah, Kasha said that she has a small non-profit theater company on Eastern Long Island.
Okay, yeah, I mean, then you should research like all the theater critics, theater writers that are in your area. Like if there's a local paper or blog or podcast, then know who those writers are.
And also, Kasha, she's asking if we have contacts with most writer in my local community, do you think it's still worthwhile to use Twitter?
Again, I'll go back to like, when you go through and make your media target list, then you should follow those media outlets and the writers of those media outlets on Twitter. And just, you don't have to spend hours on it. Like, you can spend a few minutes a day. I'm going to mute you, Isa. There's feedback. You can spend like 5 minutes a day just kind of checking the writers that you're following. And Twitter allows you to make lists. So you can even make a specific list of like theater writers, theater critics in the New York area, or maybe it's like national or what. It can vary, but you can make lists, and then that way when you go onto Twitter, you can immediately look at that list and see what those specific people are talking about. And when I say engage, it's like their article, reshare it, read it, make sure you read it too, or listen to the podcast, reshare it. And that's that engagement. That's how you'll start building a relationship. I'm seeing some questions come in. Isa, you want to field them or?
Yeah, can you go ahead, because it's creating
okay,
background.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll mute you. Okay, so let me go back. Yes, these slides will be available afterwards. Kettle Space will email that out to you guys. Hans is asking, do I need to go hyperlocal first, or can I go to national? I think it's good, depending, again, it kind of depends on your campaign. Like if it has, if the story angle can be part of a national story, then yes. It's good to start with your local, just because honestly, when you are trying to attract people to an event or something like that, it's normally going to be your local, right? But I know that we're like, well, gosh, if I'm in the New York Times, then that's really the main goal here. But you'll get more return actually with your local. If like you're a restaurant, right? Like your local customers are the ones that are going to keep coming back, as opposed to like tourists. And right now, I don't even know what tourists are going to look like, considering what situations we're in. But yeah, I think hyper-local is good to start, and then you can work your way up. And also national or like bigger media outlets will take longer to get on. So keep them on your list and keep them as a goal, but know that that's going to be like, that's where your patience has to come in and persistence has to come into play, because you may not get it right away. Whereas like the local stuff, they're looking for things that are happening that week or next week. So you'll have a better chance with the local stuff first. Any experience with help a reporter out? A little bit. I honestly don't use it. Again, I go back to like, I read the stories that are out there, and then that helps me determine, okay, that writer writes about this, or they already wrote about this, what's a new angle that applies to my client that I can then send to them. So I think HARO is fine, but what I've heard from other people too is that they don't get much results out of it. And again, writers are on Twitter doing the same thing. Like, hey, I need help with this, or does anyone know someone here? So they're doing it on Twitter already. I think it's better to use Twitter, to be honest. Okay, any other questions? I want to stay connected. Okay, so Isa is saying, can you share this doc with everyone? Okay, I'm going to share a doc with you guys. Okay, I'm going to share something else with you all real quick. And if there are any other questions as we're talking, please feel free to keep dropping them in the chat. So if you like what you saw, if you want to learn more, I actually am launching my PR for the People workshop. It's going to start July 1st. And this is where we go through this campaign system. And we go through the whole thing. So over the course of the 6 months that we're doing this workshop, we are going through together and doing each of these phase 1, 2, and 3 in detail. Like, I'm pitching with you, I'm analyzing things with you, I'm sharing insight with you throughout the whole time. There's a shared Slack channel, so we communicate regularly on there. We meet every other week. There's a group workshop and there's also a one-on-one. But the group workshop, we meet every other week. It's about a 5-hour commitment per week, 5-hour-a-week commitment to do your homework and to do the check-in sessions. And it's been really successful. It's been such a pleasure to share this knowledge and information with people like you that have their own businesses, or maybe you work in marketing and communications and you just want to get your PR chops up. It's been awesome to see the results our clients have gotten. And Hans, you're asking me to be a guest on your podcast. Sure, I'd love to. Yeah, check out, people are making podcasts. So like the podcast market is a great way to get your voice out there, get heard, tell your story. Maybe you'll want to start your own podcast. I'm actually going to start my own podcast. Stay tuned for that. But it's not going to be about PR. Okay. If anyone has questions about the PR for the People workshop, it's on my website. I know we're getting close to July 1st. So you can make an appointment with me through that page, and then we can check in and I can give you more of a overview of what that program is, and talk about it and see if it's a good fit for you. Okay, LJ is asking recommendations for getting coverage for podcasts. Like if you have a podcast and you want to get your podcast seen. Yes, okay. Yeah, so for that, usually those will come, coverage for podcasts usually comes in like lists, like top, women of color podcasts, right? So that's something you can pitch. So I would say one of the things you could do is like research, well, what other podcasts are kind of in your circle and cover the same kind of the topic. And then you can pitch that as a story idea. Like, hey, I'd like to pitch this. Here are some other podcasts, including mine. And then that gives the writer like, oh, okay, that is a good list. We haven't done that list before. Even Google like podcast lists, right? And see like who has already come up with a list. And if they published one like 2 years ago, like, hey, I know you did this 2 years ago. It'd be a great time to run a new list. Here are some ideas. Or even like if you're like, I want to be on Teen Vogue or something, like, and you haven't, and Teen Vogue hasn't put one out, like then you can pitch that. I've noticed you haven't done this. Podcasts are really hot right now. Everyone's at home. Here are some podcast story ideas. And then make sure you insert your podcast in there. Marissa, thank you. Oh, thanks, Marissa. Yay. Thanks. Okay. Thank you, Kasia. How tough is it to write and place op-eds? I think just, it's kind of just researching like who is looking for them. You know, so usually the media outlet will have a page that'll say, submit your story idea. And so just kind of follow their protocol, see if they are looking for op-eds. You can always contact the editor and say, hey, are you accepting op-eds? Ask first, and then they'll usually have like a requirement of how they want it to look and like the process of pitching a story to them. So yeah, I don't know if it's how tough it is. Again, it's going to be like that patience and persistence and timing. Like, is your op-ed timely with what's happening now? If it is, then most likely they'll want to pick it up because they need that kind of content. It'd be also a good before you do that, maybe have on your own website a news section or like your own articles that you've already written, so that there's there are samples of your work out there that you can reference when you do pitch your own op-ed. So write your own content, publish it on your own website as a good place to just feel out like how you want to do your op-eds. And then from there you can pitch it. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, great, you guys. I think it's 11:12. I'm okay ending early. We can end this and you guys can go do your Google alerts, finish setting that up. I'm all about ending early and then assigning homework with the remainder of the time. Isa, do you wanna, I wanna thank Isa, Annalisa, and Kettle Space. If you guys are not part of the Kettle Space community yet, it's a great place to connect with folks. They are based in New York, but obviously now we can connect from anywhere in the world, right? So check out Kettle Space and their programs as well. Thank you so much, Annalisa. Oh, I think we have.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We're going to send you guys a follow-up email, so stay tuned.
Yeah, and then the Google form, what was the Google Doc for?
Yeah.
Oh, to stay connected.
Yes, stay connected. Yes, everyone can stay connected if they just wanted to share the information with you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and yeah, feel free to make an appointment with me if you do want to just get some more insight. I offer free consultations, so you can find that on my website. Oh no, actually, let me drop it in here. Where is it? Actually, Isa, we'll send it out in the email. I'll put a link to the free consultation sessions you can book with me, and you can do that afterwards too. If like other things come up, other questions you have, then you can talk to me privately. Great. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. This is really fun. Hope you are able to take away some information to bring back to your business and organization, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop share.
Thanks, Paloma. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.